Listen carefully, because this might be the shift you have been needing for a long time. You keep searching for motivation, you keep waiting to feel ready, you keep telling yourself that once you feel inspired you will start working, but that is exactly why you are stuck. Because motivation is unreliable, it comes and goes, it depends on your mood or energy or environment, and anything that depends on feelings cannot be trusted. One day you feel powerful and ready to conquer everything, and the next day you feel tired, distracted, and unmotivated. So if your progress depends on motivation, your progress will always be inconsistent. And inconsistency is the biggest enemy of success, because success is not built on what you do occasionally. It is built on what you do consistently, day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it is boring, even when it feels like nothing is changing. That is where discipline comes in. Discipline is not about feeling good, it is about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. It is about making a decision and sticking to it no matter what. It is about showing up even when your mind tells you to stop, because your mind will always try to protect you from discomfort. It will always try to choose the easy path, the comfortable option, the familiar routine. But growth does not happen in comfort, it happens in resistance. It happens when you push yourself beyond what is easy, beyond what is familiar, beyond what feels safe. And that is why discipline is powerful, because it forces you to act despite your feelings. It allows you to move forward even when motivation is gone. It keeps you consistent when everything inside you wants to quit. And that consistency is what creates results. Not overnight, not instantly, but over time, through repetition, through effort, through commitment. And most people never reach that level because they give up too early. They stop when things get hard. They quit when results are not immediate. They look for shortcuts instead of building habits. And that is why they stay stuck. But you do not have to be like that. You can choose differently. You can decide to build discipline instead of chasing motivation. You can decide to show up every day regardless of how you feel. And that decision will change everything. Because once you start acting consistently, your mindset changes, your confidence grows, your focus improves. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe that you can follow through on what you start. And that belief is powerful because it drives your actions. It pushes you to do more, to aim higher, to keep going even when things are difficult. And that is how you build momentum. Not by waiting, but by acting. Action creates momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. But getting there requires effort. It requires pushing through the initial resistance, the phase where everything feels hard, where your mind is constantly trying to pull you back into comfort. That phase is where most people fail, not because they cannot succeed, but because they are not willing to stay disciplined long enough to see results. And that is the difference between those who succeed and those who do not. It is not talent, it is not intelligence, it is not luck, it is discipline. The ability to stay consistent, the ability to keep going, the ability to do the work even when you do not feel like it. And that is something you can build. It is not something you are born with, it is something you develop through repetition. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen it. Every time you push yourself to act, you build it. And over time, it becomes part of who you are. You become someone who does what needs to be done without hesitation, without excuses, without delay. And that identity is what creates long-term success. Because once you become disciplined, your actions align with your goals naturally. You do not have to force yourself. You do not have to rely on motivation. You simply act because it is who you are. And that is where real change happens. When your identity shifts from someone who waits to someone who acts, from someone who hesitates to someone who executes. And that shift changes everything. Your habits, your mindset, your results, all of it improves because you are no longer dependent on feelings. You are driven by purpose. And purpose gives direction to your actions. It helps you focus on what matters. It helps you ignore distractions. And distractions are one of the biggest reasons people fail. They lose focus, they get pulled into things that do not matter, they waste time on activities that do not move them forward. And before they realize that their day is gone, their time is gone, their opportunity is gone. And that cycle repeats until it becomes their life. And that is why focus is important. Because where your attention goes, your life goes. If you focus on distractions, your life will be full of distractions. If you focus on growth, your life will move forward. So you need to protect your focus. You need to be intentional about how you spend your time, what you give your energy to. Because your energy is limited, and where you invest it determines your results. And if you invest it in things that do not matter, you will not see progress. But if you invest it in your goals and your growth and your development, you will start seeing change. And that change will motivate you. It will push you to continue. It will reinforce your discipline. And that is how you create a cycle of growth. Discipline leads to action, action leads to results, results lead to confidence, confidence leads to more discipline. And that cycle continues as long as you stay consistent. But the moment you stop, the moment you give into comfort, the moment you let your feelings take control, the cycle breaks, and you go back to where you started. And that is why it is important to stay disciplined even when things are going well. Because success is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you maintain through consistent effort, and that requires commitment, a commitment to your goals, a commitment to your growth, a commitment to becoming better every day. And that commitment must be stronger than your excuses, stronger than your distractions, stronger than your comfort. Because if it is not, you will always find a reason to stop. You will always find a reason to delay. You will always find a reason to stay where you are. And that is not what you want. Next part coming.